What's up, peeps? So DMZ gameplay was released yesterday and it received a ton of negative critique, right? Everybody was trashing on it, saying it was the worst mode ever and possibly one of the worst things and the biggest fail that Warzone has ever released. Today we're going to be talking about why that is, but also few things they can change that would make it and could make it into maybe Warzone's greatest mode ever, even bigger than Battle Royale. We're going to jump right into that today. And as well, special shout out to my newest members who give me a huge extra support to the channel. And you can become one for as low as 99 cents a month. Link is in the description. So first, we're going to be talking about why did it fail? And I've got a really simple explanation to it. And number one was when nobody knew about DMZ, right? We knew there was a mode called DMZ, but really nobody knew a lot about it, right? A lot of people were saying it's kind of escape from Tarkov and you're going to loot and do all these things. But in reality, they never really gave us anything, right? No trailer, nothing like that. So we were in the dark, and that's something good, right? I like it being like that, right? Because you're like, wow, we don't know what to expect. But the problem came when the streamers playing here, as you guys can see, I was watching Swag and also Shroud and a bunch of other streamers played it. The problem was that they were as in the dark as we were, right? And I know that just because of the way they were playing, but also the questions they were asking, like the developers and stuff like that, they had no clue. And well, what does this cause? Well, when you are watching a trailer or a game, right, and it's a new game, a new campaign, there's new mechanics, when the people or the game developers are explaining it to you, they explain everything new in the game, right? So for example, if somebody's doing a campaign or something new in the trailer, they're gonna be like, all right, and you can do this thing, you can explore the world, you can do contracts, you can do this, you can do that, right? So when you're watching a trailer, when you're watching somebody play something new for the first time, they're explaining to you the things that you can do, right? And then it gets interesting, like, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting, you can do all these things. But the people playing this had no clue, so it was just like if we were playing it for the first time and had absolutely no clue. So watching it, it's really boring, especially when nobody has any idea what they're supposed to do, right? You open your mini map and it kind of seems like plunder, right? So that's why people were like, well, it's kind of like plunder. You do missions. And they were like, well, how do you get into these compounds? What do the compounds give you? Should we exfil? So a lot of people were like securing SAM sites, which were like these missile locations. But then once they secured them, like they didn't know what to do. They were like, oh, I guess we secure this. Like, what do we do now? So that was one of the biggest issues with the game is the people playing the game had no idea what they're doing. So us playing and watching the game, we were also like, well, I mean, this is kind of boring, right? So that was a big issue. They should have told all these streamers what the main idea was, what they can do, what the main strategies are, and what should they try to do to make it a little bit easier, right? Now let's talk about what did they actually do wrong in the game, right? What is hard? Number one, I think the player count. Now this could be because this was a private event, right? And maybe they didn't have enough people to fill. But again, we don't know exactly how many people. There was no indication in the screen at how many players were in this game. But number one was that I really felt that there was way too little gunfights against real players. Right? I think I saw a couple gunfights throughout the game, and then maybe once they were going to go for the exfil, one they were fighting another other team. But overall, it was pretty boring, right? So there wasn't that much action going on. So that's the number one thing they could change. They should definitely add more players and maybe add a way for them to come back. Maybe that was an issue, maybe because they died so soon against AI or anything like that. Then I don't know what it is, but they need to do something about it so that you're also facing more real enemies. Now reason two why this failed is because it really wasn't hard enough, right? A lot of the bots, most of them, like this one right here, they were just super AI bots. I mean, like if you're playing campaign in recruit, right, and they barely shoot at you. But then there's other times where there's some AIs that you can even see some streamers trying to pull sweaty moves, drop shotting, stuff like that, and the AI would mow them down. I mean, they would completely demolish you. And I think that's what that was their issue. I think that every single AI should be this powerful. Like, I mean, I think every single AI should be a force to reckon with. In that way, it really forces you to play this super squad co-op game, right? Because a lot of people were trying to play this like battle royale. You would see other people like roaming around solos, but that's not what this is. This is not supposed to be a battle royale. So I really feel they kind of messed up in that, and I think they should make it, first of all, like limited HUD, right? Limited HUD, right? So like, for example, you wouldn't be able to see your plates, maybe not your money, your ammunition. All you can see was your coordinate. You can see your mini map. Maybe you have to open, maybe like there's a special operator that have to open something. I'd also like to see that maybe like roles, kind of like when you're playing specialist. So somebody is the medic, somebody is the map guide, whatever it is, but maybe something to make it a lot harder, because right now, that's why it kind of seems like plunder, but with AI. AI, right? Because there's no difference in the HUD. You can see everything, and some AI are strong and the other ones aren't. So I really think if they really wanted to make this game like their own, right, something completely different, they really need to up the difficulty of the AI significantly, and then remove all that HUD stuff and make it a lot more realistic and a lot harder. And then point number 3 is there really didn't seem to be a grinding towards, right? A lot of people did the exfil, and it was kind of like, obviously if you died, then you couldn't use your class again. So basically the way it works is like you got 3 class setups. Let's say you choose your class, whatever your gun, and if you die, then you can't use that class again for 8 hours, right? So that's kind of like the penalty. But I didn't really see, and obviously if you exfilled, you won, but it really wasn't as rewarding because it's not its separate game yet, right? It's not like an Escape from Tarkov where, yes, surviving and finding gear is the primary objective. Right now we have Battle Royale in this one as well. So I think the way that they could fix this is, for example, they could make like an ultimate goal. Let's say that you have to win, you have to exfil with certain objectives 5 times or something that is difficult, right? I mean, something that requires skill and you playing a while. But once you complete this mission, or let's say if you complete the hardest mission in DMZ, right, and it's almost impossible to pass it, but if you complete it, then you get like this super cool blueprint that, I mean, nobody in the world has unless you complete this mission. And then you have to exfil to get that blueprint, or maybe you get a super cool operator. So I think they would have to give us something really, really, really cool that we could use in Warzone and multiplayer throughout all the platforms. Like, but and again, I think people love skins and people love blueprints, especially if it's something that's hard to grind. We've seen it with camos. A lot of people like to grind camos in Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. A lot of them, right? Everybody wants to have skins that look cool and that not everybody can have, that you have to grind for them. So I think if they would put like this super, I mean, the coolest skins you've ever seen, and for example, every season they'd add another skin in another operator, then I would think this has potential, right? A lot of people might say, all right, you know, I'm gonna grind with my squad, this super mode, to get this unique blueprint that nobody can get unless you get this. But as what I could tell, I mean, again, a lot of the players didn't know what they were doing, so I didn't see anybody going for that. There was like a little suitcase that was like a high weapons thing, but again, I didn't see anybody go to it. But again, it just really did seem like if they were trying to replicate the idea of Escape from Tarkov. Again, nothing really like this is from Escape from Tarkov, but I guess the idea where you're just playing here and it's a completely different mode than Battle Royale, and your point of playing this is to loot and survive. And I just don't think they're going to get there when you're in a Call of Duty environment. I think they need to offer a really, really, really cool reward for us to be like, all right, then yes, like I'm going to play this because if I finish this, I'm going to get this super cool reward. But I just don't think people will really play this instead of Battle Royale if it's not like that. Also, as an extra thing, this would be in the long run, but it could really benefit us a lot. If you guys have ever played Division, the open world one, there was this place called, I think it was a Dark Zone, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't played it in a while, but it was basically the whole rest of the world was single player or co-op, right, with your team. But you went into the Dark Zone and it was these places where it was multiplayer and it was like open world. So you could go into this space, into this faction, and there'd be real players all over the place. And if they could do something like this in here, then that would be sick, because, or they just have to do something to keep the players reviving, because I think they just didn't fight against enough players. And the map is big enough for them to do that. Like imagine if it was an open world. That's what I think a lot of people thought it was going to be, like Tarkov. I think that would be a lot cooler. It's an open world, right? And maybe there's still a timer with the radiation, but let's say every hour the radiation consumes everything and you need to go like this to a secret bunker to survive or to exfil, but the whole world stays open all the time, right? And there's always going to be 150 players in it. And I think that would be a lot cooler. That way, if you die, you can go back into your world. But obviously when you go back into your world, you'd spawn with nothing, right? With a pistol. And then you'd have the other squads that are roaming around and they've been alive for a while, and then have all these OP squads, but obviously they're OP weapons, but you could kill them and take their cool loot out. So I think something like that would be a lot cooler. Right now, I really do think it's just like an improved version of Plunder, you know, like with more AI and more things to do, but it's generally, in the sense, it's still the same. But I think if they could make this into an open world sorts where the game never ends, and people could just keep joining like these dark zones. And again, I don't remember the name, but like it was in the Division. I think that could really be a completely different spin-off from Battle Royale, and maybe a lot more people would play this. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know down in the comments what you think about this new game, and what do you think they should change. Peace out, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next one.